Welcome to Believe in Clemson Football. I am Will Vandervort. That is Alex Dodd, our extreme producer extraordinaire. I guess that's the best way to say it. Alex, I was on the phone this afternoon talking to one of our former colleagues, Emily Smar. If you remember Emily, now covers University of Alabama men's basketball team. Emily is a beat writer over there at Alabama and works for the Tuscaloosa News, and does a great job covering them. And so me and her were talking. Emily was, like Alex, is a former student worker of mine over at the Clemson Insider, and did a great job with us then. And now she's doing good things out in the real world. Always pretty cool, Alex, to see what you guys are doing, man, and talking to all of y'all throughout the years, and and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The TCI family's kind of spread throughout the country. You got, people in Bristol, people in, Washington, D.C. I'm out here in Colorado. Emily's in Tuscaloosa. So we really are kind of worldwide. We're nationwide here. So
got some in Boston, So we've been very fortunate to have some good students that have worked for us, like yourself, and you're still technically working for us, I guess, working here, helping us with the podcast each and every week. I Believe in Clemson Football, which is sponsored by the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Go to the ClemsonInsider.com today. You can see all kinds of football stories written by me. Jason has been killing it, Jason Priester, in recruiting. I mean, guys, if you're not reading Jason's recruiting stuff, you're missing out. I mean, Jason is on the money. He's spot on with stuff, and he gets that stuff out there fast, and he's talking to the recruits every day for the most part. Man, he's Johnny on the spot, and also does a great job of Clemson baseball, as we all know, covering Clemson baseball as well. When that's going on, he's been Johnny on the spot with some of the guys coming in to recruit, and, guys that have left, and guys, I guess, transfer portal guys. Just a bunch of baseball news over there, too. So go check out all the football, baseball, and basketball news JP's been putting up on the recruiting side. Go check out all the other Clemson stories we got from me and Gavin and Ashby as we keep rolling through the summer here, Alex, in the dog days of summer. So go to the ClemsonInsider.com to check all that. You can see the Clemson Insider YouTube page, which is we're on right now. You can go to Facebook at Clemson Insider, as well as on Twitter, Clemson Insider as well. Excuse me. Darn it. X. So anyway, in case you guys know, Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network will be joining us here in just a little bit to talk Clemson football. Eric is, former Clemson Tiger, as you guys know, has done a great job with the ACC Network and represents Clemson well. He's going to be here to talk all things Clemson and kind of give us a preview of what to expect from the Tigers this year. Alex, I know this is one of your favorite guys to listen to and interview. I had the privilege of covering him at Clemson. I can't believe it's been 10 years now, but Eric was on the 2015 team that went to the first national championship game. I know for you it's pretty cool, I guess, because you were still in high school then when Eric was rolling through.
Yeah, I was in high school, following along with the team from a couch when Eric was playing. But man, it's been super awesome to get to interact with him, when I was a student working for you. And then to see just his career grow. I mean, this is a guy, he's a Clemson guy, but he's also a heck of a football analyst, a great color commentator. He's done a lot of the UFL games over there on ESPN too. So great guy to have on the show. And there are a few people who know more about Atlantic Coast Conference football and Clemson football than that guy.
Yeah. And also, by the way, if you like podcasts like we do, obviously, you go over to the Gramlich and McLean podcast. Him and former Clemson women's basketball player Kelly Gramlich team up and do a great job with all the ACC news that they do over there. Not just Clemson, but the Atlantic Coast Conference as well. So go check them out. They do it all year long, and it's all Clemson sports for the most part. All Atlantic Coast Conference sports for the most part. Two Clemson grads talking the ACC sports. They do it better than anybody, man. It's awesome that they're Clemson grads, right? I mean, and I got to cover both of them when they were at Clemson, and that was pretty cool. I knew Kelly was going to do what she's doing. It was just a no-brainer to me, the way how Kelly is. But I had no idea Eric wanted to go on this route, and that's a pretty cool story he tells us as well, right?
Yeah, he's going to give us some insight on his, kind of career, how he got started in sports broadcasting, which wasn't something he initially planned to do. But sometimes people just have a gift, and that guy definitely does. I would definitely check out their podcast if you're interested in the ACC, which obviously you are to some degree if you're here on the Believe in Clemson Football podcast. But they give some great analysis and kind of a larger perspective of what's going on in the ACC. You get your niche focus here, but if you want the big picture, you can go over and check them out.
And Eric will be with us probably in about 10 minutes from now. We're going to try to get him on, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, me and Alex are going to talk a little bit of Clemson football. Alex, some news today for nerds like me and yourself who like to play video games, and it involves Clemson. So video games equals nerds equals Clemson football. Isn't that how it follows?
That's pretty much how it follows, but I think you're like less of a nerd if you play the sports games, right? And that's what I've convinced myself. But
well, yeah, I think we convinced ourselves that, but I don't think we are. I think we're pretty much nerdy.
Yeah, so it came out earlier this week that Clemson, I believe, is the number 7 team in the game coming into the year, which is kind of interesting. I thought maybe they'd be a little bit higher. But they released the player rankings today, and Clemson had 6 players ranked 90 or above in EA Sports College Football 26. Obviously, TJ Parker, the number 1 rated edge at 95 overall.
Edge rusher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peter Woods, number 1 rated defensive tackle, 94 overall. Cade Klubnik, the number 1 quarterback in the game at 92 overall.
How about
that? Avion Terrell, the number 4 rated cornerback at 92 overall. Blake Miller was a 92, and Antonio Williams is a 90 in the game. So some really high-rated Clemson players coming into the game this year.
Not that I'm surprised that Cade is rated the highest quarterback, but that number for quarterbacks is low. Like 92 is the number for the quarterbacks, and that kind of surprises me, Alex. I thought quarterbacks would be a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, so they actually had, I believe, in the top 10. I don't think there was a top 10 overall offensive player that was a quarterback. I just found it right here. So the top 10, Jeremiah Smith is number 1 overall at 98. Wide receiver, Ryan Williams from Alabama, Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State, Caden Proctor, the left tackle from Alabama, Spencer Fano, the right tackle from Utah. Oh, I'm not even going to try to say this. Reed Adams from Texas A&M, the right guard, Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vandy, Francis Mauigoa, the right tackle from Miami, and then Nicholas Singleton, the running back from Penn State, rounding out the top 10 offensive players. No quarterbacks in the top 10.
That is amazing to me that quarterbacks aren't higher than that. I just really surprised. I thought they would definitely be in that list of higher players. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just really surprises me.
Yeah,
but, hey, it is what it is.
Especially with kind of the perspective on quarterback play. Brad Wood's a good one. Clemson nerds are the best. You're in the right place, Brad. You're in the right place.
Yeah, and then he follows up. Bama being number 1 is ridiculous. Totally agree. I don't understand why Bama is number 1 on that ranking either.
I almost wonder if the way that their ranking system works, and I didn't check this out, is if they just base it off of, kind of your collective team average. Mm-hmm. That's almost like how it seemed to me, because I think they put out the overall offensive and defensive rankings, and Clemson was like number 3 or 4 in offense and like number 8 or 9 in defense, but they're number 7 team in the game. So I don't really know how it works.
Well, if that's how they do it, it makes sense at least.
Yeah. It's got to be something like that. It's a formula. I mean, I don't think they're doing subjective team rankings over, voting in the EA office.
You would hope not. It's like me and you ranking. Well, let's see who's our number 1 team.
Well, their seeding might be about as good as a college football playoff if they do it like that. So who knows? Less vested interest in EA Sports.
Yeah, that's a good point. A very good point there, Alex. Interested to see, how Clemson plays in this game. By the way, a little stat to throw out there, or a little information to throw out. if you play, so if you're Clemson and you want Clemson to make more money, Clemson can make up to $50,000 in NIL money by the game. In other words, teams that are played the most, EA Sports is going to return it back to that school, to those schools that are played the most. So I think 50,000 is the highest. Is that right? Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think that's right on the sliding scale.
Right.
That's what it is, because the Clemson already gets a set dollar amount of the sales based off of their winning percentage over the last 5 years or whatever. And Clemson's in the top tier of the game. So I believe there's four tiers or 5 tiers, and Clemson's in the top one. So they already get a set number from that, but there's an additional pot of money that's based off of how many plays. And I did see there's a lot of people kind of throwing around on Twitter right now, like, hey, maybe we should all play as Kennesaw State and see if we can get them get the Owls a bunch of NIL money for their team next year, which is a pretty interesting concept. It's kind of fun to be able to directly contribute to your alma mater, or your favorite team, or the little guy, just based off playing a video game.
Yeah, or just helping the little guy out, like you're saying, Kennesaw State there in Atlanta. At least it's a local team, right? I mean, surely don't want to help out Georgia Tech in Georgia. So, I'd rather help out Kennesaw State if that's the case. But no, that's a very good point.
Well, Clemson fans, you got to think about it. If you're going to play South Carolina in the game 100 times, you're going to be giving South Carolina just as much money as you gave Clemson. I don't know. Maybe that's something to think about. You're not going to want to play South Carolina. You're going to want to play, maybe Kennesaw State every time you play the game.
That's what I was going to ask. Does it count if you play an individual game and you play South Carolina, that South Carolina counts that towards them?
I think so. That was my interpretation. Is it's the 2 teams that are selected.
I thought it was dynasty mode.
Maybe it is dynasty mode. Maybe it is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe I misinterpreted as well.
But that'd make more sense than then you'd never be able to play a rival in the game. You feel like you're giving them NIL money.
Yeah, you don't want to give South Carolina money, or Georgia, or Georgia Tech, or let's see, Florida State. I mean, all they're going to do is take that money and throw it away. I mean,
they're going to sign some transfer quarterback that thinks that Nick Saban's a chump or something. We hadn't even talked about that last week. That's what we should have talked about.
Did we not get to, we didn't talk about that last week?
We didn't even get to Thomas Castellanos and throwing an egg at Nick Saban. Nick Saban, he's just trying to do College Game Day. And Thomas Castellanos is saying, Daddy Saban's not going to be able to save you from me this year.
What was he thinking? Like, I know Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban, but what are you thinking? Because all you're doing is you're making Alabama mad before the game starts. Why make them mad? They got enough talent. You don't need to help them.
He also said in the article with our good friend Pete Nakos from On3, said that he single-handedly ran through the ACC last year with no help. Like, last time I checked, you got benched before your last game for another quarterback, and then you had sour grapes and left before the season was over because somebody in your own quarterback room was better than you. So I don't know how that means you ran through the ACC at 5-4 or 4-8, whatever they were. I can't even remember what Boston College record was in the ACC last year.
I think they were 3-5 in the conference. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't understand why he comes out and says stuff, because then you also poked Clemson, because you told Clemson you ran through the ACC. Clemson's like, okay, we're the ACC champions. Let's see if you can run through us.
4-4, 4-4 in the ACC for Boston College last year.
And he didn't even play the whole season. He got to week 11 and quit. Because he got benched and he didn't like it. Man, sometimes you know what? Just keep your mouth shut, dude. Just keep your mouth shut. Go to work. If you want to prove people wrong, go out there and prove people wrong. You don't got to open your mouth. I know he's playing at Florida State. He feels a little more like, but he's forgetting he ran all over Florida State last year. And that's who he's like, okay, so these guys got your back, dude. You just beat the crap out of them last year. One of the teams you're talking about you ran through. This is actually the team you did run through. And they're not very good. So, FSU might need the money for Norvell's buyout. Ha ha. True, Brad. I mean, I think Florida State will not be 2-10 this year. I don't think. We could play win-loss game here before we got how many minutes we got? We got a few minutes before we get to Eric real fast. I guess we'll try to do as fast as we can. But let's do it real fast. Win-loss with Florida State. Let's look at it. Because I think they could probably win 5 or 6 games, Alex.
Yeah, and the other thing too that people I think maybe are discounting a little bit with Florida State, they lost their home field advantage last year. I mean, they had 20,000 seats taken out of the lower bowl, and they weren't able to have full capacity crowds. That does play a big impact in college football. Maybe in games that are tight, you feel like you could win if you had a little juice from the crowd. They do have a stadium again this year.
Maybe I don't think that had anything to do with it. But hey, I'll let you tell them that. I still think you got 50,000 people pulling for you. You need to play better. That's just the way I look at it.
CC, you're right. Devil Dogs in the house. Got the helmet right here.
Here we go. Florida State schedule. All right, here we go. Let's see. They open up against Alabama at home. You tell me what you think.
I think if it's on a neutral field, I think Alabama wins easily. I think it's going to be tight in Tallahassee. I don't like that Thomas Castellanos gave unnecessary ammunition to the Tide, and I think that Alabama's going to come out ready to play now. They're not going to be. They're going to be ready to come around. I'm going to go with the Tide.
We both got Alabama. East Texas A&M.
Who?
Not Texas A&M. East Texas A&M.
I think they got that one.
All right, so we're both going to give a win here. Okay. Kent State. Yeah, I think, unless Jack Lambert's coming back or James Harrison, I don't think either one of those two guys are going to be on the team. Who?
The Flashers. Or Flashes.
Yeah.
Flashes.
Yeah. So win for Florida State, both there. Big game. Can't believe I'm saying this is a big game. At Virginia. It's a big game for Tony Elliott, too.
It is. I think I'd still give the edge to Florida State's roster in that game. I mean, let's not act like playing up at UVA is a hostile environment to go on the road in.
It's not, but they'll be up for that game because it's Florida State. They always will pack it for Clemson. They'll always pack it for Florida State. I'm going to go with the Fighting Tony Elliott's to get the upset.
All right.
Yeah. So now the question is, Alex, if they're 2-3, right? Does he lose his team if that happens? Because he lost his team last year.
He might lose his job if that happens, if we're being honest. If he starts 2-3 with the loss to Virginia, that might be the last game that Mike Norvell coaches for the Seminoles.
Because guess who they got the next week? Miami at home.
I'd say that's a loss, but again, rivalry game and Carson Beck. I'm not sold on Carson Beck having a renaissance year quite yet.
I don't disagree with you, but Miami's got a great roster. We'll see. Probably the second best roster. You could argue that maybe the best roster in the ACC.
And Will likes, Miami has always been a reliable pick for Will. Whenever he picks Miami, they always do well.
Yeah, exactly. That's sarcasm, by the way, in case y'all didn't know. We got Rob Ellen says, I like Norvell, but damn gum, I can't believe they bought into DJ and a poor O-line. A lot of people bought into DJ and a poor O-line. No doubt about it. All right, at Stanford, versus Pittsburgh the next week after Miami.
Oh, Pittsburgh, I think that they're definitely
at
losing.
Home.
I think they're losing that one.
Wow, you got them losing to Pitt. I'm going to give them a win against Pitt because it's at home. If they were playing at Pitt, I would definitely go with you. But I'm going to give them a win.
They're 2-3 playing in front of half a stadium and they're going to beat Pittsburgh? A hard-nosed football team after they lost the locker room?
2-4. I don't know. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give them home.
Right.
I'm giving it to them. People love people. Anyway.
We have them with the same record now.
Yes, we do. At Stanford.
That's a win.
Okay.
Stanford doesn't even have a football coach. They have an interim football coach.
I'm with you on that. I think that's a win as well. They come back home for Wake Forest.
They win that one. I don't know. I mean, I think Wake Forest made a good hire. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and beat a couple teams this year that maybe they shouldn't. But I'm still going to go with Florida State in that game.
And by the way, we're doing a quick run game with Florida State, and then we're going to Eric Mac Lain's about to be here in a second, so we're going to get that going here, people. All right, so real fast, Alex. So you said win for Wake Forest, so did I. Let's go at Clemson. I think we both know what we're going to do there. Both going to chalk it up as a loss for the Seminoles there. They host Virginia Tech. Is that going to be a good Virginia Tech team, or is it going to be bad? I don't know.
I think that I'm going to go with Florida State. Is it bad that I trust Mike Norvell more than Brent Pry? Is it bad that I trust him more than – I mean, it's two coaches that – I mean, at least one of the coaches had a good season.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Good question. A real quick question. I don't know. Let's see. Then they are at NC State. I know I'm going there.
I'm going the same.
All right. Both got L's there. And then they end the year at Florida. And to answer Rob Ellen's questions, do you think Napier lasts longer than Norvell? Because of what I think the result of this game is going to be, yes. I think and I also Florida, think they're going to have a better team.
If I was going to make a prediction on July 1st about what's going to happen at the end of November in that game, I would say that Florida is going to smack them around. I mean, I think DJ Lagway is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think he's dynamic. I think Napier has a great roster and showed progress at the end of the year, and I think they're going to smack Florida State.
So we both had them going 6-6. So I would say the ceiling is probably 7-5, and the floor is probably, I don't know, 4-8. I'm serious. I mean, because there's a couple games that we could be different about. You know what I'm saying?
I think that Florida State could win 8 games. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility that they beat Virginia on the road, and that's the difference.
I gave them a win for you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's crazy that they beat Virginia and Pitt and Virginia Tech, but I don't think it's going to happen that they beat all 3 of those. But
if they do. Then and they could beat NC State on the road too also. So anyway, but hey, enough of that. Enough of talking the Seminoles. We're going to talk a little bit of ACC with this guy coming up too. You guys know him from ACC Network. You know him from Kelly and McLean podcast. So right now we're going to go ahead as he's coming in right now. We're going to go ahead and bring in former Clemson offensive tackle, host of the ACC Network, Eric Mac Lain. All right, Eric, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm great. We are getting close to football season. It's July. Charlotte is on the horizon for ACC Media Days, and then we're going to start our summer camp tours, and then we're here, and week 1, obviously, starting off with a massive bang. It's a great time of year. That's one of my favorite times, just leading in the excitement, the anticipation to the season.
Listen, me and you'll get together here in a few weeks at ACC Media Days. Is that kind of when you kind of say, okay, football? That's to me. Dabo does his a week before. He'll with the local media. I'll have his. It used to be a golf outing. Now I think it's Media Olympics he does with this. But that's kind of to me the unofficial start to football season. Is that how the ACC Media Days feels to you, or ACC football kickoff, I should say?
Yeah, it really does. Just because there's still some time right in between, because that's the interesting thing is you have to pace yourself. Because you get so excited, you're like, all right, this is it, and then you're like, no, we still got a month that we have to get through, before we see any real football played. But with our summer camp tour starting right after that, and getting to go on site and see these guys practice and talk to these coaches before it's like super stressful. Obviously, camp's a big deal. But you're not winning or losing football games for a month, so they're a little more relaxed, which is always just great fun. So it is. I mean, that's kind of the event to get everything started.
When you were a player, did you feel the same way? Were you like, man, it feels like Jervy Meadows is just a few more weeks away?
Oh gosh, Jervy Meadows. It's funny because I only got to do that one time, right? I was a senior and was able to go and represent Clemson, which was amazing and a dream come true. But for us, it truly was the big weigh-in, right? That's when you knew, okay, here we go, strap in and lock down, because we're about to go through this marathon to get to the season. And yeah, Jervy Meadows, I think that was introduced in 2014, my junior year. Mm-hmm. And I've got to say, it's the worst invention ever created. Like it sucks. Going over there you might hit some rocks, some dirt, some hard. I mean, it is the absolute worst. But I guess it made us tougher. I guess it works. I don't know.
I was going to ask you that because, is it because, well, you didn't have the the big facility they have now and everything. Y'all guys,
we didn't have AC in the indoor. Those kids are spoiled, man.
You guys, if I remember, had to get on the tram, right, and go across the street. If I remember correctly,
which sounds hilarious, right? Like they're tramming us to practice. Like, why couldn't we walk? I mean, it's crazy. But hey, it's so funny. Whichever era you talk to, it just gets softer and softer and softer as you go down the line. But yeah, we didn't have all that fun stuff. I did have the indoor. We got the indoor in I think it was 2012, right after that LSU game, which was awesome. Because my first year and a half, we used to go to the indoor track, and that was even worse than Jervey Meadows. That AstroTurf, man, that sucked. That was terrible. So you take the good with the bad, and ultimately it's all good.
Yeah, I remember when they laid down that AstroTurf the first time. I think Coach Bowden was here, and they're talking about, yeah, we're going to upgrade, and I'm like, okay. And that thing was like, you could feel. We used to talk to Coach Bowden off to the side where where the fountain is as you're going. And you could feel the heat coming off that turf.
Yeah,
and it was horrible. So I can only imagine what it felt like for you guys to get on that thing and have to sweat it out and work out before you got that nice cushy indoor facility you have now.
Exactly. A little bit different, a little bit better, a little bit smarter at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I want to, first of all, before we get going, I want to let people know this because a lot of people don't know this story about you, buddy. And so when you guys made the run to the national championship 2015, which was a fun ride, to me, it's still my favorite season that I went through because no one expected it. And as far as you guys went, I mean, nobody was expecting you guys to compete for the national championship. Let's be honest. And that ride was just amazing. And it kind of set the tempo for what everything is today. And I remember, though, after that game where you guys played your butts off and gave it everything you had, and it'd have been easier to just shoo us away and swat us little media guys off to the side and say, get out of here. I don't want to talk to y'all right now. But, man, you sat there and talked to us for like an hour and 15 minutes, dude. Yeah. To me, it is still the greatest singular moment of a player with the media. I'm being serious, dude. I appreciated it because you kind of gave us what it felt like to be in that moment, though it was a very difficult moment for you because not only did you lose the national championship, it was your last game as a Clemson Tiger.
Yeah, and that was the worst part, right? And it's you lose a game, sure, it stinks, and especially a game of that magnitude, and want to be forever ingrained in a program. You win a national championship, that's a good way to do it. But the sad part, and I'll never forget, telling people why I was, tearing up or crying. I was crying, to be honest. Was that I'd never wear that paw, on a helmet again. I'd never be able to represent my school that way ever again. Now, certainly, there's been bigger, better, greater things since that, wearing the paw and being able to represent Clemson. But in that moment, it's pretty bad, and I'll never forget that. And just wanting to enjoy it, and that's one thing. And you talk about staying and talking with you guys. I never knew if that would ever happen again, right? And so even to this day, if somebody asks for a picture, if somebody just wants to talk ball, some people that maybe are new friends or that haven't been around me, whatever, are always like, does that ever get old? Why do you always do that? And one day it's going to stop. One day nobody's going to care. And I'm just trying to give everything I can to represent this school, represent this university while I still can, and try to do that to the best of my ability. And, you guys were so great to us, me personally, my entire, career. I mean, before that senior year, I wasn't some superstar, 5-year, 4-year starter. I was a guy that had to work my way up. And, even before that, though, you guys would talk to me and ask me different things and allow me to kind of be the leader of that team. And so it was not an obligation, but it just felt like it's what we do. And nothing's going to change that because we lost.
Eric, what was it like for you kind of transitioning into what you're doing now, being a broadcaster, being a studio host, and how great is it that you still get to be around the game, even though you're, maybe not wearing the helmet anymore?
Yeah, no, it's the best. It really is. And funny enough, I just remembered or saw that helmet right behind me. That's it. That's the one. The last one, that I wore and holding in that locker room. But, I think it was something where it sounds weird to say this, but I never wanted to do what I'm doing. People throughout my career, just because I was made available to the media and did a lot of things, anytime Herb Street or Fowler, Reese Davis, Joey Galloway back in the day when they would travel. Anytime Marty Smith, those guys came to town, I was the guy talking to them and doing different things just because, Deshaun didn't want any part of that stuff.
No surprise there.
Right. I mean, I was super lucky to be able to capitalize on those opportunities. And so it was really cool. And all those guys would be like, man, whenever you're done playing, you need to do this. I'm like, nah, it's fun. It's a cool hobby as a former player, but I'm good. Thank you though. And, really the way that it found me, a total God thing, and something I wasn't looking for, fast forward 4 years after, I graduated, 3 years after I graduated, and that opportunity kind of presented itself. It has been the best thing, man, where relationships, staying around the game, for so long, and still to this day to some extent, my bubble, all it was Clemson, and that's a great bubble. It's an awesome bubble, to have. But now I have all these other communities throughout the entire country, because of this job, and coaches and players, support staff, fans. I mean, it's truly been one of my favorite things to go to a new place for people that you don't know them, but those people know you, and then it's just instantaneous relationship, and you like it and you get excited to be there. I'm a people person. I'm a relationship person, and that's truly been the best. But, to still be around the game that I love so much and that gave me so much and that I'm hoping to give back is truly one of the best parts. And to watch film and to dive in and to try to figure out what's going to happen, to an extent. We're obviously covering, up to 17 teams every weekend. It's a ton of fun, and it is a huge blessing. And I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off.
Eric Mac Lain of ACC Network, former Clemson outstanding player, also co-host of the Gramlich and McLean podcast, which you can listen to. Eric, how many days a week do you guys do that, you and Kelly?
Yeah, it kind of differs, man. So right now we just do one. We're kind of in our summer guest series just to get a little bit of a break. But when football cranks up, leading into the preseason, we'll do 5 because we'll be talking to everybody in the conference. And then during the actual season, we'll do 3 a week. So we vary a good bit, but just you'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on Instagram. And of course, you can obviously subscribe over on YouTube. I appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, no worries. And hey, listen, you work with Kelly, who's a former Clemson basketball star in her own right. And up until this year, I think she held the record for most 3-pointers in a game in Clemson women's history.
Sad day when that broke. I was working with a record holder, and now it's just a regular player. I guess it hurts.
But if you guys haven't listened, first of all, why aren't you listening? And but you got to listen to Clemson grads on there, and and Kelly knows her stuff, man. You can talk football with Kelly, you can talk basketball with Kelly, you can talk any sport you want to with Kelly. She knows her stuff, even though she's a mom and got everything going on, and
with another one on the way. By the way,
another one on the way.
She's gonna have 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
So yeah, you're proud of both of you guys, man. So great to see both you guys succeeding the way you are. So I want to dive into it, buddy, and let's get this thing rolling. We'll start off with why everybody does listen to us. It's Clemson football, and I wanted to ask you your thoughts as you look at this team heading into the 2025 season.
Yeah, they're going to be really good. They're going to be really good, and I think I've seen different headlines and people discussing the Tigers, but this just feels like a really big year, and I hate to put the pressure on it's this or bust, because that it's never really true. Like there's so many things that you can gather from a season, however it goes, and hopefully things that you can build on and gain and things of that nature. But there are different expectations when teams go into the season. And when you look at everything that Clemson was able to keep, in this crazy point, and I hate even verbalizing that, right? Because it's such a weird thing to say, but it's true. From a roster standpoint, the expectation of growth, from the guys that are there. And then when you talk about the best quarterback in college football in Cade Klubnik, with this talented group of receivers, all the stars have aligned, right? Like for 4 years, it felt like Clemson was walking in the desert and we just, couldn't figure it out. And quarterback was, doing this and then, okay, well, we don't have the receivers to do it. All that's gone. It's all there. It's all there. Last year defense, doing their thing, to kind of contribute to the what the heck, kind of question marks there. That's all out of the window. And it feels like a team that will squarely be in the national championship conversation. It feels like a team that can win it and do their thing. And so when you look top to bottom, I don't see weaknesses of this team. I don't see anything that you could point at today and say, this will lose them a game. And if there is something that you want to nitpick, and we can go wherever y'all want, I'm sure we will, a lot of different places. Running back will be a point of paying attention to. And the only reason that I'm not, waving any flag or saying I'm worried about this, I think running back and defensive line are the two easiest positions to transition to high school to college. And they have a heck of a freshman running back that we'll see. I don't know if he'll end up being the guy game one, but I think he's going to be in there early and often and show that he can run that football.
Well, what I like about this offense, first of all, I'm with you on the running back situation. I'm not as concerned about it myself. I like what they have. When you look at, you got a guy, and Alex always has to help me say his name correctly. And Esme, is that right, Alex? He's
easy. Will just go.
Yeah, but I thought he made great progression in the spring, and I really saw him take a step where I say he's like, to me, he's like running back 1B, and then I think the freshman Gideon Davidson is probably, would be of that 2B or whatever. And then I think, Adam Randall is there. But what I love about Adam Randall is how you can use him in this offense and what he creates, because he puts a lot of pressure. Because, Eric, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's a linebacker in college football that can cover Adam Randall. And I think the route running tree that he has already in his head, his ability to read coverages because he's a former wide receiver, I think he's going to be a tremendous weapon for Clemson in the passing game.
No, there's no question about that. And I think that's what, if he ends up being the starter, that's what is so intriguing, right? Because you have a quarterback and a receiving core that you want to throw it, right? 35 times a game plus. Like we want to see that guy sling the ball, and you have the talent on the perimeter that you have to, right? You've got to keep everybody happy, and do your thing because they're that good. And you want to have, the ball in their hands. So I expect a heavy dose of passing. And then if you've got a tailback that you feel confident can run between the tackles, but also he grew up being a receiver and you can flex out and be, 5 wide, empty set. My goodness. I mean, that puts some real stress on defenses, and it also opens up the quarterback run. I mean, that can be a total diversion tactic where you just spread it all out and let Cade, run kind of a quarterback draw or just design go. And we saw, what he can do last year. You look at that Pittsburgh game in particularly, walk off 50-yard touch. I mean, that's crazy, to see a guy do something of that nature. So I totally agree with you. The versatility that Adam Randall is going to bring to that position is very impressive. And then, of course, had a 40-yard run in the college football playoff against Texas, one of the best defenses in the country. So, what I saw from him was confidence running between the tackles, confidence in the position. Pass blocking is always going to be a thing. You got to protect your quarterback, know where it's coming from. But the key this year, with Cade being as experienced, as old, mature, confident as he is, he should be able to help. Whoever's back there, he says, hey, this is who you got. He will know all 11 guys' position and what they do, and that's going to be a big key. And so if you do have an inexperienced guy in Randall, if you do have an inexperienced young guy, in running back there at Gideon, he's going to help him. He's going to be able to tell him. So I don't have the worry of, Cade going through his thing, not knowing what to do. And, this guy doesn't, that's not going to happen. And so that's exciting. And then, you look at Davidson, what he brings that they threw to him a lot in the spring game. He had a couple of really nice catches, a wheel route that I thought was spectacular catch, a little slant. And then I get up and see it's number 9. I'm like, whoa, what are we doing? That was pretty impressive for a young freshman. I mean, we all remember how long it took Travis Etienne to become a weapon out of the backfield as a receiver. This dude looks like he has it from day 0, which is very impressive. And you just can't help but sit here and think, same number, similar build. What the heck could this look like?
Yeah, it definitely helps when you have an experienced offensive line in front of him too. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at this Clemson LSU game, way out in advance. You look at, Clemson's offensive line has almost 3 times as many starts together as LSU's. So how much does that experienced offensive line help when you're breaking into running back?
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal, man. I mean, I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you. I think it's like 130, 160 combined starts. I mean, it's a lot. These guys have played some football, and they're all old. I'm looking at the depth chart right here: graduate, senior. I mean, that's 4 dudes that have been around, and then you've got a junior in Harris, Sewell, that has played a ton, and a couple of guys behind him: Elijah Thurman, Colin Sadler, like guys that are ready to go. I don't know the last time that Clemson has been this loaded at the offensive line, where truly, I mean, I just listed off 7 guys, and there's probably 1 or 2 more that you feel really good about if they're in the game or if they get an opportunity, that they're just fine. And that is a great place, to be able to be in and to get guys in or get them opportunities, but also have that core of, no, we're here and we're going to do this thing. I mean, that is going to be an absolute strength, of this team. And, I think when you look at that LSU game, just to briefly kind of preview that, you've got another offensive line in LSU that it's all new starters. I mean, they had 5 guys, which is a testament to them and their program for sure. They had 5 guys that went on to the NFL Combine that I think got drafted or on NFL rosters. But with that being said, you got 5 new guys from different places. I'm not sure how many are homegrown there. They're walking into week 1 in Death Valley going against the best defensive line in college football. They need to have Nussmeier seeing ghosts. I mean, they need to confuse that offensive line. They need to scare them with different stunts and things of that nature, because that's a big deal, them having this crash course. I don't know if they were all there in spring or all there in fall camp, but there's going to be some growing pains, and Clemson should be able to take absolute advantage of that.
Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network, former Clemson player, star of Gramlich and Mac Lain podcast. I don't know. Sorry, Kelly. I didn't mean star, because obviously you're the
star. 2 stars. You can have that.
One of the 2 stars.
Star, and there's a star. And I
one
know
of the stars. But Eric, speaking of that defense, Tom Allen, you got a chance, I'm sure, to talk to him. Yeah. Give me your thoughts of Tom Allen, the new defensive coordinator, and what he brings to this defense this coming season.
Yeah, what's interesting. I always like to not check myself, but I always like to be real. And when it first happened, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's what I thought, because we have our list and we're putting out names, and Tom Allen wasn't on it anywhere. He wasn't on my list, and then when you find out who he is, then when you learn about him, you're like, oh, this should have been the most no-brainer thing. He's the same guy as Coach Dabo Swinney. I mean, he has the same values. He handles things the exact same. He's intense as all get out. He loves, this game, and it's been seamless. I mean, I think the players specifically have fallen in love with it. And I haven't watched the video that they produced this spring that was on ACC Network. I need to go through, because it sounds like there's a really nice deep dive of how he kind of handles his business. But the way that his attention to detail, and having spoke to him and seen a couple of things that I have seen, that's what Clemson was missing. And that's not a knock to anybody else. I think that Wes Goodwin certainly had his strengths. And I think some of his strengths weren't, honestly put on full display, forcing him to be on the field. He should have been up in the box the entire time. And I think that would have maybe been a little bit different. But, you've got a guy in Tom Allen that has done it for a really long time and has been very successful. And really, I think the addition of Ben Boulware is tremendous. I mean, you put those 2 guys together, look out. And it's funny enough where, former players will get hired back and people gripe about it and people have things to say. When Ben Boulware was promoted and hired as the linebackers coach, nobody said anything but raving reviews. I mean, everybody was very excited. I think that's pretty telling, just how he is intensity-wise and what he brings to the table. I mean, he's done it all at the absolute highest level you can at the place he is. That's important. And, I think the holding people responsible, holding people accountable, hearing these linebackers and others talk right now, it's a little bit scary. I don't want to put too much on them, because obviously there's some massive strides they need to get to where they are at the standard that the Clemson defense expects to be. But I'm very excited about that side of the ball, and I think that we're going to see some really fun things over there.
Do you think if this defense finishes top 15 in the country, then that tells you all you need to know, especially if the offense does what we think they're going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my expectation 100%. That's where they should be. You know, when you look at the skill level that they have, you're talking about 2 first-round draft picks, maybe more, whoever is behind them that is maybe young and not playing yet at the defensive line. You look at a guy coming over in Will Held that is just a beast. 2 linebackers that are as good as any in the country, and a secondary that also has first-round picks in it, and maybe more. You've got to do it on the field, right? And don't read the press clippings. Don't look at the mock drafts. Go and earn it every single Saturday, and those guys should be one of the best in the country. And again, I don't want to put that because they were so bad last year, and it takes a lot to get there. But when you see everything that they have, it needs to be an absolute strength, like it always is for Clemson.
Eric, as you kind of look forward to that LSU game, how would you describe what you think that environment's going to be like in Death Valley for a night game against a big brand in LSU? And you know, they're selling beer in the stadium now, and LSU fans are going to try to drink all of it. So it's going to be fired up there in Death Valley here.
I don't know if beer and Cajun selling alcohol with Cajuns coming.
Scary mix.
It's not a
It'll
good
be a good
mix.
test. It'll be a good test if your security protocols are right, if your lines are good. We'll find out. And I'm celebrating. Maybe that throws people off, but it's a good thing, right, for Clemson to kind of be in that space. And I think it was Clemson and the Mormons out in Utah were the only ones not selling beer in the stadium. So I'm glad that we can kind of separate ourselves from that distinction and make a little revenue, make a little money in the stadium. Why not?
The Baptist and the Mormons.
Hanging out in the back somewhere. I get it. But now we moved up to the front row, which is good. And I think at the end of the day, that game is going to be nuts. It's going to be insane. I hope that we're going to be there. Hopefully some news comes out soon that we'll be there. We haven't really quite gotten our schedule yet, but it's a massive thing. I mean, it's a national championship type game. It's a college football playoff type of game, and that environment needs to directly reflect that, and it will. I mean, those fans are going to be crazy. The Clemson family. It was funny. I was looking at something for a graphic the other day for our 500 episode giveaway for Eric Mac Lain, and I saw this picture of us running down the hill. The balloons, the firework. I mean, it was just insane. And I think back to the Notre Dame game in 2015. I think of the Louisville game in 2016, and countless others since then. That place is going to be rocking. And again, it is the ultimate advantage when teams can't communicate, when they can't hear, and now they're even more reliant, right, on the helmet communication. It's not as loud as you think, and when those fans are going nuts, they're not going to be able to hear. They shouldn't be able to operate, and Clemson has to take advantage of that and really overwhelm this LSU team.
And Eric, I need you to be my mouthpiece on this because people listen to you a little bit more than they do me. But I've done history books and everything, and my main thing I always get onto is I hate hearing people call LSU Death Valley, and because first of all, LSU is going to understand what it's like to play in a real valley because Clemson is a valley. Clemson's Death Valley is actually played in a valley, not a bowl. Level. Not a bowl, exactly. So that's the first thing they're going to understand about this, but also understand that Clemson is – everybody likes to say which one's the real Death Valley, and I always say there's no argument because Clemson's the original Death Valley.
Exactly. And
Clemson has it where it's written down. They know where it started, how it started, and how long it started before LSU did. And then, as I always tell everybody, and I found this in LSU history books, LSU can't pinpoint. It's like it's a urban legend of how it started. And so they can't pinpoint an exact time of when they started calling it. But even when the first time they mention it, right, the first time they mention it, they still don't know if that they say that was still 15 years after Clemson was already calling itself Death Valley.
Right. So well, check this out. I've also have heard that they called it Death Valley.
That's right.
And people don't know how to read letters, and so they turned it into Death Valley.
So the Cajuns couldn't say it correctly. Is what I heard. But and even in their own history book, 100 years of LSU football,
they don't know.
They say that they started in 1959. That's the earliest account they can have it. Again, 15 years after Clemson was already calling it Death Valley.
Yeah. So the best way to settle this is to play the game and to go in there next year and whip those boys, and then it's all good. It's all done.
Win this year and then go in there. But again, the LSU players will find out when they get in there, Clemson's actually a valley. There's a reason why you guys run down a 110-foot hill.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Into the stadium.
It is. And it's going to be a great environment, right? And it should be a fantastic game. You're talking about potentially 2 top 5, for sure 2 top 10 teams. There's going to be a ton of juice. I love that it's a night game. Love that it's big boy ABC. The A team will be there, and it's that's how it should be. And I hope that we see even more, these scheduling type of models, and let's keep them at home, right? Like, there is, I get it when you go to a neutral site and there's a lot of money involved, but man, there is nothing like being in Clemson, South Carolina. There's nothing like being in Baton Rouge and all these different places. And I just love that. I love that it's at home and we're doing that home and home.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna leave it to you. When you get on the air, you have to set people straight with the facts.
That's right. I've been doing it. You gave me some more firepower there.
All right, man. All right. So real quick before we let you go, I want to talk about the Atlantic Coast Conference. Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network joining us. Eric, I want to ask you, who challenges Clemson this year? Who do you think is the team that challenges the Tigers for that ACC championship?
Yeah, it's hard not to, give SMU credit. What they were able to do last year, going undefeated in the conference, their first year in, getting to the ACC championship, losing by a field goal. I mean, they had a really bad start, and we thought it was just going to be murder's row the rest of the game. And here they come, marching back. Kevin Jennings played lights out in the second half. And if I look at that last game tying drive that SMU had, and you see what Kevin Jennings did at the quarterback position, if he can be that guy all year long, he'll win the Heisman. I mean, he was special in that, second half of the Clemson game. And then, you see what he, wasn't able to do in the playoff and made some really key mistakes there. So he's probably somewhere in the middle and certainly I think going to be better. We saw Cade Klubnik go through a massive jump year 1 to year 2 as a starter. Kevin will be doing that this year, going from year 1 to year 2. And that's a big deal. And so I'm excited to see that. They have some key guys they're replacing, but they feel really good about who they're replacing them with. And, Derek McFall is going to be a name at running back that Clemson fans certainly need to know, but, Clemson defense needs to know better. He's a carbon copy of Brashard Smith. I mean, they're going to split him out wide. He's probably a good return man, very fast, very elusive, but can also run between the tackles and be a guy that can be a multi-use tool for them. Defensively, again, you're replacing a bunch, and going to be interesting to see who steps up leadership-wise there, because they lost a lot of key guys from that defense. Miami is always a team that's going to be mentioned at the top. They have recruited so well. The number 1 recruiting class in the ACC, I think, for the last 3 years. And the way they've done it, inside out. Like their offense and defensive lines are disgusting. I mean, they are really, really nice pieces. You look at the headliner on the offensive side, Francis Maui-Noah. He's been a first-round draft pick since he was born. I mean, that guy is just ready for the limelight and is such a freak of nature. And then you look on the defensive side, I think 2 years ago, their class had 3 5-star defensive tackle guys. I mean, that's a lot. That's a good haul, of guys that now it's time. They're juniors now. It's time to show out and really demonstrate who you are. And you have Carson Beck coming in, who, 2 years ago going into last year before, the year that he had and the injuries and the drops, from his receivers, was deemed maybe the first quarterback taken, maybe the first overall pick. And then, of course, had the season that he did and decided to come back, transfer to Miami. If he's going to go on the revenge tour that I think he can, it could be really fun. It could be really interesting to see what Miami can be, who they can be. Lost a lot at the skill positions, but have guys ready, have 4 or 5-star guys ready. I think that run game is going to be really impressive as well. They have 2 massive running backs back there that can deliver some pain. And then, you kind of look at a team like Louisville that probably doesn't get enough credit. It probably gets pissed off that they don't give enough because they just win, having beat Clemson the first time ever last year, beat Kentucky and just are growing. And Jeff Brom's a heck of a coach. I think one of the best in the country at what he does. That's kind of the big 3 there that I think will be vying for that other spot in Charlotte.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. I know we're recording this in an early morning, but we're glad you could take time out of your busy schedule to be with us, man.
No, I appreciate you guys so much. Keep killing it. And, man, we're so close. We're right here. I can't wait. It's going to be a really fun year.
All right. Eric, thanks for being with us, man. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, that's Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network joining us today to talk all things Clemson football, the Atlantic Coast Conference. I found it interesting there, Alex, at the end where he talked about Miami being the team that he thinks will be the one challenging Clemson when it's all said and done. It's going to be Clemson and Miami in the ACC championship game. I'm a little afraid to do that. I'll just be honest with you. Miami's burned me so much. I just don't want – I get it, though. They do have arguably the best, if not – the second best, if arguably not the best roster in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They do have a quarterback who I think has the skills to get in there, as he said. But I don't know. I just don't trust Carson Beck, dude. I really don't. You hear all the stuff about him, how – he wasn't a great teammate at Georgia. Like, none of the players there, were sad to see him go. And, hearing his ex-girlfriend talk about how nobody liked him at Georgia. And I just, to me, that in today's game of college of football, it doesn't matter if it's college, NFL, or high school, the quarterback has to be the most important guy in that locker room. He has to be a leader of not just the locker of the offense, but of the entire team. And I just don't think Carson Beck is that kind of guy.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that is exacerbated with transfer quarterbacks too. When you're the new guy that's coming in, you really have to be able to A, lead by example, and B, lead with your voice. You've got to assimilate to that culture and get people moving in the same direction as you really quickly to have success as a transfer. And just kind of what you're saying, the things we've heard come out about Carson Beck in the last year, I don't know if he has the right personality for it. But again, you never know. Somebody can get in a different spot and everything click for him immediately. Like you said, they definitely have the talent to do it. I'm just too sheepish on Miami. They have expectations to be there every year and find a way to choke it away.
Right.
And there are other good teams in this conference. We talked about SMU, we talked about Louisville. Louisville, just like we said earlier, is a team that nobody gives credit to. And if Jeff Brom was able to do that in year one, man, look out for what he's able to do with another year with that roster.
Yeah, they get Miller Moss from Southern Cal. I don't know if that's a good move or not. I'll be honest with you. Brom has done a great job with quarterbacks, but I don't know. I've never been impressed with Miller Moss. And so but again, I like Coach Brom, and he does, like I said, he does a good job with quarterbacks. So, I can see Louisville contending. There's no doubt. I think they got a pretty good roster. They've done a good job in the transfer portal. They're like a lot of teams, right? They're transfer portal heavy, which I don't know. I think Florida State showed us the last 2 years. Sometimes it's going to work, but the key is that experienced veteran quarterback. And then sometimes it's not going to work. Miami's interesting because, as we mentioned earlier, their roster's good. They've built it from the their own selves through the as Eric explained through the recruiting, high school recruiting, and things of that nature. They brought in though a couple of key pieces from the transfer portal. Can Carson Beck kind of be that final piece that gets them over the hump? Louisville is like Florida State. They went in and got a whole bunch of people from the transfer portal. So are they going to be Florida State 2.0 this year? You said what I mean by that is the team that went 2-10.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just think the Jeff Brom piece is so key for me. Nobody's done more with
better
less.
Coach. Yeah,
nobody's done more with less in college football than Jeff Brom. Let's not act like he had some star-studded roster and some unbelievable quarterback in the games last year, and they were able to have success. They were able to go to Clemson and win. So I just think he elevates everybody's performance on his team, especially the quarterback, and his kind of DNA as a competitor really rubs off in that locker room and makes everybody around that program better. So it's hard for me to overlook them again. But like we mentioned again and again, Miami has the tools. They've done it on the recruiting trail. They've added key pieces in the portal. Now I just think you take a big step back. I do. I think you take a step back going from Cam Ward to Carson Beck, just talent-wise and stylistically. Your offense is going to have to dramatically change from Cam Ward to Carson Beck. They're completely different types of players. I want to put all my eggs in that cart before things get rolling.
And then when we look at SMU, and a couple of things here with SMU. First of all, their defense. They got to replace 7 starters on defense. Now they're really talented on offense, and they bring back arguably, maybe the second best quarterback in Kevin Jennings. He really got going there late in that Clemson game, and I think he's legit. I think there's ways you can defend him, but only for a certain length of time because he's so talented as a runner, but so talented as a passer too. The thing that surprised me is he's more accurate than people realize, and that's what makes him so dangerous. But
and
then
accurate on the move. I mean, he's accurate.
Yes.
He's accurate in the pocket. He's accurate to the right. He's accurate to the left. And he's accurate on those kind of scramble drill plays. You saw that in that fourth quarter of the ACC championship game when they were kind of in desperation mode. He was making play after play to get them back in that game.
Absolutely. And so I'll be interested to see what they do there. Then also when you look at their schedule, they got Baylor on the schedule. By the way, they also play East Texas A&M. East Texas A&M is, man, they're loading up on the ACC.
Personally, I'd never heard of East Texas A&M before today. I know about West Texas A&M, a D2 team in the Lone Star Conference. But I never heard of East Texas A&M before.
So yeah, interesting to see who East Texas A&M is. They play down. I know they play SMU and they play Florida State. So anyway, they got Baylor. They have, let's see, at TCU. Difficult. That's going to be a difficult game. They host Syracuse. It's going to be a pretty strong game, I think. They go to Clemson. They got Miami on the schedule. They're at Boston College. They got Louisville on the schedule, and they go to California. That's a pretty hard schedule for SMU this year. Now, it's not Syracuse hard, but it's definitely a hard schedule. And then I'll tell you people why I say Syracuse is hard here in just a second. But I don't know, man. I don't know if that schedule they can go back to the ACC championship game.
It's definitely a tough schedule. And I mean, that's the thing. When you play this open division format, it really all comes down to who's on your schedule. I mean, I think it's going to be that way most years, is kind of your second team or one of your teams that's in that title game is going to be the team that has the most favorable path. Another team that has a super favorable path is North Carolina. I mean, I don't know if there's a team in the country that has as favorable of a path on their schedule as North Carolina. They had to play Clemson, but they have a pretty open path to an ACC title game if all the circus in the locker room or all the circus in the media this summer was just that, was a circus and the teams together. But
I just don't know if their roster, though, because they had so many in the transfer portal. And I don't doubt they didn't go out and get good players. I do. But you got to mold your offense and defensive line in the same year. And you got a quarterback that nobody's used to, that you didn't even have in the spring. I just think that's asking too much to build a team that fast. So I want to see if Bill Belichick. I think it's going to be a wash for Bill Belichick this year. I want to see if it works. If it does, I'm just skeptical. I don't know where to put North Carolina, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're in the top 5 of the ACC or if they're in the bottom 5 of the ACC. I just don't know what to expect. But I'll look at their schedule. They got TCU as well, as you mentioned. They got let's see. They got Clemson at home. They go to California. They got Virginia at home in a rivalry game. At Syracuse. They got Stanford at home, at Wake Forest, Duke at home, another rivalry game, and NC State, who they can't seem to beat no matter who's playing for them. So, I don't know what to expect. I can't do we can do win-loss games with most teams because we got an idea what the roster is. I have no idea what this roster is, and who's doing what, and I just don't have any idea of what they can do.
I mean, all I know about North Carolina is who the head coach is and who his girlfriend is. That's not a very good recipe for win-loss game, Will.
Now, 3 of their 4 biggest games are at home. That's Clemson, Virginia, and Duke are at home. So the only one on the road is NC State. That's a big help for them, but it's not big that they got to play Clemson. It's one of those 3 home games, right? But and Duke, I think Duke's going to be better than people think. I really do.
I mean,
Manny
look what Manny Diaz did in year one. I mean, really,
won 9
really
games.
impressive. I think a lot of people thought Duke would take a big step back after Mike Elko went to Texas A&M.
And I think they were actually better.
And I think that they were a better football team. They were a more consistent football team under Manny Diaz than they were the last year under Mike Elko.
September 6th will be a big day for Duke. Big game they host Illinois. That comes to town. Interesting. We're going to find out right away in week 2 what Duke has. At the big Wallace Wade Stadium there.
You got Bielema and the Fighting Illini coming down. Oh, also, before I forget this, I went on a deep dive a minute ago about East Texas A&M. So, fun fact: East Texas A&M joined Division I in the Southland Conference in 2022. Before that, they were a Division II powerhouse in the Lone Star Conference and won a Division II national title in 2017.
There we go.
So use that in football trivia when it comes up on game day and your buddy's like, "Who the heck is East Texas A&M?" You 1,000 people, 1,100 people, you guys know who it is.
That's right. Yeah. We appreciate all those people listening right now. Whether they're watching us on YouTube, X, Facebook. I always forget where we're at. We're at a bunch of places as we go live, and so I try to remember.
And the other thing, guys, if you are kind of caught the tail end of what EMAC was saying, and you just got in on the end of the conversation, this is going to be up on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Amazon, on iHeart Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. This is going to be up, probably before you go to bed tonight, but definitely in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. So check it out on those platforms as well. When I look at Duke's schedule, though, I see, let's see. I think they can beat NC State at home. I think they can win at California or at Syracuse, maybe split those games. Georgia Tech's a game I think they can win at home. Dabo Swinney's looking for revenge as Duke comes to Clemson this year. I don't think they can win that one. But they got Connecticut, Virginia, North Carolina, and Wake Forest to close the year. That's 4 winnable games there, Alex, in my opinion. So if they can manage to get a win against Illinois, they can get one against Elon. That's 5 possible wins. I mean, they got a chance for 8 wins. I would say the ceiling is probably 9 again, and probably 6 wins is the floor for Duke.
Yeah, I think the middle of this league is really going to cannibalize itself. And you can kind of see, I mean, there are probably 5 or 6 teams that I think could find their way in through, by slitting each other's throat into the ACC championship game as a second team. I mean, we talked about Georgia Tech. We've talked about them a couple times and how talented they are and everything they bring back. Somebody we hadn't mentioned at all yet, Syracuse. Syracuse took a huge step forward last year. I know they don't have Kyle McCord back, but they're well coached, and it seems like they kind of have a football identity, kind of feeding off of Coach Brown there.
But here's why I don't put Syracuse back in the conversation.
They have Murderers Row.
They have the hardest schedule in college football. They open against Tennessee and Atlanta. Now, that could prove to be pretty well for them because Tennessee right now is without its quarterback, and they're trying to find themselves. You could get Tennessee at the right time. Still, though, I'm going to predict Tennessee to win the game. I would think Tennessee would have the better overall roster. So we'll see. Then they go to Clemson. As I mentioned, they host Duke. They go to SMU. They got Pittsburgh. They go to Georgia Tech. They got North Carolina. They go to Miami. They go to Notre Dame. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that played in the college football playoffs and one who just missed the college football playoff because of them. And they got to go on the road to that team. So that's 5 playoff caliber teams they're playing, as well as a 9-win Duke team and a Pitt team that I think is going to be much improved as well.
I mean, this is a hard team that David on X thinks Duke and North Carolina are going to the college football playoff, and that Belichick's going to win the national championship.
Is David? Is he like thinking that that's not basketball season, David? We're not talking about the Final Four for basketball.
David's the guy who on his basketball bracket goes in there and is like, all right, who's the number 16 seed? Oh, we got the Wofford Terriers, number 16 seed. David's got East, going all the way.
David's got Clemson and Penn State in the basketball Final Four. That's no, just kidding, David. Appreciate you, bud. Appreciate you checking in and giving us your thoughts. I mean, it's Syracuse, man. I feel sorry for them. Okay, I just do. I feel their schedule's just. What are you doing? First of all, what in the world made you think to schedule Tennessee and Notre Dame in the same year when you know you got to play Clemson as well? Like, what are you doing? Right? I mean, you can't. You didn't know my SMU was going to be on schedule at that time, so you can't.
You scheduled this like 6 years ago.
Yeah, you scheduled that 6 years ago. You scheduled Tennessee and Notre Dame at the same time in advance, knowing you probably got to play Clemson because of how it works, right? So that's 3. And like I said, you didn't know about SMU, but you knew you were going to have to play Clemson. So you're like, can't you just say Tennessee, thanks, but no thanks? I mean, that's what I would have done. So Alex, when I look real fast, though, when I think of this conference right now, I hate to say what I'm about to say, and you're going to know the part I hate. But right now, I got Clemson number 1. I got Miami number 2. As much as it pains me to say that, but there's nobody else I can put to say who's number. I don't think SMU is going to be as good this year. I don't think Louisville's got the horses in the key positions to be in the championship game. Georgia Tech, maybe, so Georgia Tech's sitting up there, but I don't know if Georgia Tech's good enough to beat Miami. Duke maybe could be, but I don't know if they're good enough to beat Miami. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see anybody that can. I think Clemson and Miami in this one tier. And then, the Louisville, the Georgia Tech, the SMU, the Duke, and the Pittsburgh kind of fall in that next tier. I think any one of those teams can get third place. But I just think there's a big drop-off for Clemson and Miami. I just really believe that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Definitely talent-wise, and when you look at the schedules, it feels that way. But like I said, I feel like in the middle of this conference, I mean, just weird stuff happens in this conference every year. I mean, how many times since they've had an ACC championship game do you think the best 2 teams in the league have played in the championship game?
Mm-hmm.
Not very many. Honestly, it's more about having the right schedule and getting hot at the right time to be the second team, especially in this format. So anything can happen, but I think the safe money is definitely Clemson, Miami.
Now, earlier we did win-loss game on Florida State because that is technically Clemson's ACC rival right now. We kind of both agree on that. John Grant, I only watched Georgia Tech once last year, but they got absolutely hosed by the officials in the UGA game. Totally agree with you, John, and I watched more than one Georgia Tech game last year. I watched pretty much their entire season.
Yeah, me too.
And they are a good football team.
Man, it was just so much
They play
fun.
hard for Brent Key. They play hard for him.
How many times did I text you last season and say Haynes King is a dog? I think
you want to pull
Haynes King is a bad man. I think I said that in the family group chat like 27 times last football season.
No, and he is a bad man, and he's a hard guy to tackle. And Clemson fans, if you haven't seen him play, you're going to see that in week 3 of the season because he's very difficult to tackle. And Clemson's got to go down to Bobby Dodd Stadium for the ghost of Bobby Dodd, as I like to say. I know Robert hates for me to say that. Real quick, though, NC State. I bring up NC State, Alex, for this reason. I think there may be a coaching change at the end of the year in Raleigh. I don't know if Dave Dodd is – because they're already – I've talked to a lot of NC State fans. Believe it or not, there's a lot of NC State fans in the Seneca-Clemson area. I mean, there are. I mean, I've talked to multiple fans, and they do not like Dave Doran. They want him gone. They think he's done all he can do with the program, and they're ready for a change. And so they're just waiting for that 1 year where he just goes into the toilet. And he hadn't had that. Let's give him his credit. He's, for the most part, he's been right around above that. He's been sitting around that 8-9 win level for a long time. And then, I think he's had 1 or 2 seasons at around the 500 level. That's it. He hadn't really had that Mike Norvell kind of season where he went 2-10. Now, the reason Mike Norvell survived
last year, they were 6-7.
Right.
So I think a lot of people were hoping it happened last year, but had
that was a 500 year injuries.
I mean, Grayson McCall, who got like seriously injured and knocked out halfway through the year, and it was just kind of a weird year.
It was a weird season, and so but they didn't have a good recruiting year. They didn't have a great year in the transfer portal. Nobody's talking about NC State like they were this time last year, right? Where a lot of people were talking about they thought they could contend with Clemson and SMU and those guys, Miami last year. Even Dave Doran said it's the best team he had, best roster he's had. And he was talking about how they were going to go to the ACC championship game. They went 6-7 after that. And what you just said, add on to another bad season, it could spell doom for him because unlike Mike Norvell, he doesn't have that high buyout. I'll tell you this, Mike Norvell would be gone at Florida State if he didn't have that high buyout because Florida State could not afford it right now. They could not afford to fire him.
He'd be gone if they weren't still playing Willie Taggart.
Right. So here we go. NC State, their first game is they go against East Carolina to start the year. They host the Pirates.
I think they win it, but it's going to be ugly.
I'm going to go help my good friend John Hyatt out, whose dad's a East Carolina grad, and John's a big Steelers fan as well, Pirates and Bucks. I'm going to go I'm going with John here. John, if you're watching, buddy, I'm going to give you East Carolina Pirates a victory here. So I'm going to go with the upset to start the season. And Alex, let's be honest. Nothing would make us happier than to see the Pirates beat them.
No. And that's one of those kind of
it's a personal thing for us.
It's also kind of like one of those underrated kind of historic rivalry type games. These are teams that have been playing each other for
and they hate each other.
And they hate each other. It's not like, Clemson Furman or something like that, where it's like, oh, we like you, little buddy. It's not like that. These guys don't like each other.
They can't stand each other. Week 2, they get Virginia at home.
So that might be a who's going to stick around for next year game. I'm serious. I mean, I love you, Tony, but I mean that's kind of one of those line in the sand type games for these two coaches that are, both their fan bases are kind of like, all right, maybe it's time to try something new.
And Virginia lost their quarterback, and I don't know who to pick here, but I'm gonna go with the home team.
Yeah.
So you're going to go with home team too, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Alex has got you. Alex, you get the Pac 2-0 to start the year. I guess it's going to go. It's going to go to 3-0, I think, here because at Wake Forest.
I think they win that one too. Yeah.
All right.
Again, Wake Forest though, another team kind of like we don't know what to expect.
I don't think they're going to be very good. I don't think
they're going to be very good, but I think
they lost. They lost like their entire roster. And then they had to they didn't get some guys until after the spring before they got guys even in. They're not going to be very good. Wake Forest is last for me in the conference this year. I'm picking them last. I just don't think they're going to be very good. You lose that many players after spring practice. That's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good. So anyway, then they got at Duke.
That's a loss.
Yes, I think you're correct. All right, so after 4 weeks, I've got them 2-2. You got them 3-1. Virginia Tech, they played the Hokies at home.
They got to lose one of these home games, in my mind. They're not gonna start undefeated at home. I don't think.
You don't think they're gonna? So you're gonna lose them here? You got that? You got to lose them
here.
Okay. Virginia Tech's got a veteran quarterback, got a good run game. If they're healthy, I think Virginia Tech's going to be hard to beat at times if they're healthy. I'm gonna go with you. Loss here. Okay, if they lose this one, he gets fired. He's done after this game if he loses this one. They play Campbell University.
And from Boys Creek?
From Boys Creek.
Yeah, they're going to beat them.
I think so. You hope so. Then the next week they go to and play the Fighting Matt Freemans at Notre Dame. Yes,
running
Matt.
back's
mean
going
Matt-
to have 200.
You mean our good buddy Matt's a loser? Is that what you meant by that?
He is. He's kind of mean to me this weekend. He was texting me being kind of mean. Typical Matt.
Matt's a good friend of ours that covers Notre Dame. Anyway, let's see. At Pittsburgh. Loss. Wow. All right.
This is going off the rails fast for that pack that started out red hot for me.
It's going off the rails. Georgia Tech at home.
Oh, that's a loss.
I think so too. At Miami.
That could also be the typical Mario Cristobal loses to a team that sucks game, though. I mean, that might be we lose to a team that sucks game for Mario Cristobal.
The Miamian?
Yeah, the once a year Miami-ing.
Yeah, the Miami.
Hurricaning. That's once a
Hurricaning.
year they lose to somebody who sucks. That might be it.
Yeah,
I'm still going to pick Miami.
All right. Then they got Florida State at home. That could be a game for somebody's job.
That might be another job game. That might be a game that like you lose your job before you get on the bus or get to the locker room game.
Right. What do you got?
I think I got NC State.
I'm with you. I got NC State as well. I think if Florida State's not good, if they're just average by midseason, I think his team will quit on them again.
If they start like 500 or they start like a game below 500, if they're like 3-4, they're going to lose like every game the rest of the year, like they did last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then the last game at hosting North Carolina. Look, until North Carolina beats them, I'm sorry. I've just seen it too many times.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so here's what I got. I got them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. You got them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got them going bowling, buddy.
Hey, going to the Belt Bowl once again. Duke's Mayo Bowl.
And I think their floor is probably around 4 wins. I think the ceiling is no better than 7 with this team. I really believe that. So I think this is the last year, though. I don't think 7-5 is enough to save Dave Doran's job. I think if this is the case, if he goes 6-6 or 5-7, as we're saying, then I think North Carolina State's looking for a new head coach next year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If that happens, Coach Prime Wave to Tallahassee will be massive.
Yeah, if Norvell.
Oh, you come out if I don't know.
It will. I think it will.
I think possibly, but here's something that talking.
I don't know that he will go.
Oh, okay. You know he will.
He's saying the same thing I am, that the fans are going to want it.
Well, I know the fans are going to want it, but talking to some Florida State friends down there who cover the team, they've told me that Dion has burned some bridges down there with some major influential people. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see if he can mend fences if that happens. But, we'll see. Well, Alex, that's going to do it for today. I think we need to get on out of here. We still got some more.
We can go for another hour and a half if y'all want.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. If you want to go ahead and do that, and just your wife would not see you tonight. But yeah, man, it's been fun. Appreciate Eric Mac Lain joining us. Appreciate everybody listening to us and watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and X. We're here each and every week. We'll be back here next week, and we're going to try to have some more guests on here in the weeks to come as well as we get you set for the 2025 college football season. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have ACC Media Days. We got Dabo Sweeney's media outing. So we got all kinds of things going on here in the weeks to come. So we want to stay tuned for that. Clemson football practice will start in about, let's see, where are we at right now? July 1st?
July 1st.
That's about maybe less than 4 weeks from now. We'll start football practice. So, man, we got a lot going on here. Football is right around the corner for everybody. So just keep it locked in here if you want Clemson football. For Eric Mac Lain, for Alex Dodd, I'm Will Vandervort. We'll talk to you next time on Believing in Clemson Football.